have you ever stopped to think about the lens you see the world through? I mean, it's kind of like this invisible filter that's always there, shaping every single thought, every belief, every action you take. It's not an exaggeration to say it literally defines your reality. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that filter. We're talking about your worldview.
All right, so what exactly is this powerful invisible lens? We're going to break down what a worldview is, how it gets built in the first place, and why it matters so much. A worldview isn't just a list of your opinions. A much better way to think about it is as a living lens. It's the active psychological filter that holds everything you believe about life, the universe, yourself, all of it. And it's not static, right? It's how you're actively perceiving and projecting your reality every single moment of every day. And here's where it gets really fascinating, because it's not just about you as an individual. When enough people start sharing a similar lens, their personal worldviews kind of merge, and they create what we call a consensus reality. This becomes the unspoken agreement of an entire culture, the story a society tells itself about what's real, what's not, and what's even possible. So to really get a handle on where we might be going, we first have to get honest about where we are right now. Our current consensus reality, especially in the West, is basically propped up by two really powerful and often clashing ideas. Think of them like the two bookends holding up our reality. Let's take a look. The physicist Freeman Dyson he nailed it with this. He said science and religion are like two different windows looking at the same universe. And each one gives you a view for sure, but it's a partial view. Neither one is complete. And our current worldview, it's pretty much split right down the middle by this exact division. Okay, so let's look at the scientific side of our filter first. This stuff runs deep. From Descartes, we got this idea that our minds and our bodies are totally separate things. From Newton, we got a universe that works like a giant predictable clock. And from Darwin, this belief that life is basically just one big, fierce competition. And all of that leads us to seeing ourselves as, well, accidental chemical machines where getting sick is just a broken part that you need a drug or surgery to fix. Then, on the other side of the shelf, we've got the religious bookend. And this view, it often tells us that we're born fundamentally flawed, right? That our deep inner self, our impulses, they can't be trusted. They have to be suppressed. It suggests that spirituality isn't something that's just naturally inside you, but something you need an expert, a professional to mediate for you. And it tells us that some core parts of our human nature are just shameful. So, when you put those two bookends together, what do you get? This image just illustrates it so perfectly. You get a fragmented world, a reality of separate parts. We end up seeing ourselves as these separate, mechanical beings, living in a cutthroat, competitive universe, totally disconnected from each other, and honestly, even from our own inner wisdom.
But what happens when our own experiences, and even new scientific discoveries, what happens when they just don't fit neatly into this divided model anymore? Well, that's when you start to see cracks appearing in the very foundation of that consensus reality. And this brings us to the most important question of all. What if this story we've been telling ourselves, what if this entire worldview is fundamentally, deeply incomplete?
The futurist Willis Harman really drives this point home. He argued that you simply cannot build a healthy, well-working society on a foundation that is, and I quote, seriously incomplete and mistaken in its basic assumptions. So this isn't just some philosophical debate. This has huge, real-world consequences. Let's look at some of the evidence that just doesn't fit in the box. I mean, there are decades of serious research into what are called psi phenomena, things like telepathy. There are thousands upon thousands of credible reports of near-death and out-of-body experiences. And then you have the flat-out weirdness of non-locality in quantum physics, where particles seem to be instantly connected no matter how far apart they are. None of this makes any sense in a purely mechanical universe. But here's the really cool part. Out of these cracks, something new is starting to grow. A new worldview is emerging. One that doesn't ask us to choose between science and spirit, but instead integrates them into a much more complete, holistic picture of what reality actually is. And the scale of this shift is, well, it's profound. We're moving from seeing a mechanical, dead universe to a living, conscious omniverse. We're shifting from a story of separation and competition to a story of deep interconnection and cooperation. And maybe the most profound shift of all, we're moving from believing that matter creates consciousness to understanding that consciousness actually creates matter.
This image just captures that new vision so beautifully.
It's not a world of separate, competing little bits and pieces. It's a complex, deeply interconnected whole. A reality where every single part of it is an essential piece of a much larger, living, conscious system. This shift is so huge that some are calling it the second Copernican revolution. Now think about that. The first one knocked the Earth from the center of the universe. This one knocks matter from the center of reality, and it replaces it with consciousness as the primary source of, well, everything. Our physical world, in this view, is just one reality framework inside a much, much larger sea of consciousness.
The great mythologist Joseph Campbell always said that we live by stories. We live by myths. And that's really what this emerging worldview is. It's a new myth. It's a new, more expansive story that organizes our experience in a way that truly allows for the fulfillment of the human spirit, but on a planetary scale.
In this image, wow, it illustrates the change in our sense of purpose so perfectly. We're shifting from a story about being an accident, just trying to survive in a dead cosmos, to being on a sacred journey of learning and discovery inside a living one. I mean, that changes everything about why we're here. So let's break this down. This new worldview is really built on 4 huge shifts. First, your life has a purpose, an innate purpose. It's a cooperative venture called value fulfillment, bringing what's valuable into being. Second, you don't have to become spiritual. You are a spiritual being, right now, by default. Third, death isn't some terrifying end, but a natural transition to another state of being. And fourth, you are a powerful creator, with both the ability and the responsibility to shape your own reality.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, right here, right now? Let's bring it all home. It means the universe isn't some cold, random place. It's a conscious system that's actually designed to support and nurture you. It means your intuition, that gut feeling, is a totally valid way of knowing, just as important as your intellect. And maybe most importantly, it means you are not small or separate. You are an invaluable, inseparable part of everything that is.
You know, the old worldview, that was something that sort of just happened to us. We were born into it. But this new worldview, that's a choice. It's a lens that we can consciously choose to pick up and look through. So I guess the only question left is, now that you can see the lens, what world will you choose to see?